The number one warning sign of dementia. Seniors always ignore what if. One of the earliest warning signs of cognitive decline isn't dramatic at all, not getting lost, not forgetting your children's names, not sudden confusion, but something much quieter. Something many older adults brush off as just getting older. Millions of seniors dismiss early changes because they seem small, harmless, and easy to explain away. But in many cases, the brain sends subtle signals long before major symptoms appear. Today, we're talking about one warning sign experts say deserves far more attention, and 8 changes often connected to it that families should never ignore. If you or someone you love is over 60, this information could help you notice patterns earlier and start important conversations sooner. One of the most overlooked early warning signs linked to dementia is a noticeable change in managing everyday routines and executive function. This means tasks that used to feel automatic suddenly become mentally exhausting, confusing, or unusually difficult. It's not about occasionally forgetting where you put your keys. Everyone does that. The concern starts when familiar daily activities begin, requiring far more effort than before. For example, a person who has paid bills for 30 years without issue may suddenly miss payments, forget due dates, or feel overwhelmed looking at bank statements. A once organized person may struggle to follow a recipe they've made for decades. Someone who used to manage appointments easily may start missing them repeatedly or writing the same reminder multiple times. These changes often get brushed aside as normal aging, fatigue, or stress, but when the brain's planning, organizing, sequencing, and decision-making abilities begin changing consistently, it can be an early signal worth paying attention to. Here are 8 signs connected to this shift. 1. Difficulty following familiar multi-step tasks. One of the earliest functional changes often appears in tasks that require several steps in order. This could be cooking dinner, organizing medication, setting up a coffee machine, or doing laundry. A senior may know what the task is, but struggle with the sequence. They may skip steps, repeat steps, or freeze midway through the process. For example, they might boil water but forget why they started. They may place clothes in the washing machine but never turn it on. They may gather ingredients for breakfast, then walk away feeling mentally stuck. This is different from distraction. The issue is that the brain is having more difficulty coordinating actions into a clear sequence because these tasks are familiar. Loved ones often assume the person is tired or distracted, but when familiar routines begin feeling unexpectedly complicated, it deserves attention too. Increased trouble managing finances. Money management is one of the clearest real-world indicators of cognitive change. A person may begin paying the same bill twice, forgetting payments, or feeling confused by simple transactions. They may have unusual trouble balancing accounts, understanding statements, or spotting obvious financial mistakes. Sometimes they become more vulnerable to scams because judgment and decision-making can be affected. A once cautious person may suddenly trust suspicious phone calls, fake emails, or unrealistic offers. This doesn't automatically mean dementia, but a consistent decline in handling money safely and confidently is something families should take seriously. Financial habits often reveal subtle brain changes before more obvious memory symptoms appear. Not 3. Repeating questions without realizing it. Many people think memory loss starts with forgetting names, but repetition can show up much earlier. A senior may ask the same question several times within a short period, unaware they already received an answer. For example, what time are we leaving? 5 minutes later, what time did you say we're leaving? This happens because short-term information isn't being stored as efficiently. At first, it may seem harmless or even funny. But when repetition becomes frequent and noticeable, it can suggest changes in memory processing. The key is consistency. Occasional repetition is normal. Repeatedly forgetting recent conversations is different. 4. Getting overwhelmed by simple decisions. Decision fatigue can become surprisingly intense. During early cognitive decline, a person may suddenly struggle with choices that were once easy, choosing what to wear, picking a meal, deciding which errand to do first. Small decisions may start feeling mentally exhausting. You might notice longer pauses, visible frustration or avoidance. Instead of making a choice, they may delay, shut down, or ask others to decide. This happens because the brain's executive system helps prioritize, organize, and compare options. When this system becomes less efficient, even small choices can feel mentally crowded. Families often misinterpret this as stubbornness. Sometimes it's actually cognitive overload. 5. Losing track during conversations. Another subtle change is difficulty. Following longer conversations, a person may seem engaged at first, then suddenly lose the thread. They may ask people to repeat themselves more often, not because of hearing loss, but because processing information feels harder. Group conversations can become especially challenging. Fast topic changes, multiple speakers, and background noise may feel overwhelming. The person may withdraw socially because keeping up requires more effort. This can sometimes be mistaken for introversion, fatigue, or low mood. But when someone who was once conversational starts mentally checking out during discussions, it may signal processing changes. 6. Increased reliance on notes for basic things. Using notes is normal and often helpful, but a sudden dependence on reminders for very basic daily tasks can be worth noticing. A person may begin writing down things they never previously needed help remembering, for example, how to use the TV remote, which pills to take, how to log into a familiar account, what day family usually visits. The issue isn't note-taking itself. It's the increasing need for external systems to compensate for declining internal recall. This can happen gradually, making it easy to overlook. Families may even think the person is simply trying to stay organized, but when note dependence grows significantly, it may reflect cognitive adaptation. 7. Changes in judgment and problem solving. Early cognitive decline can affect reasoning in subtle ways. A senior may make decisions that feel slightly off compared to their usual judgment. They might dress inappropriately for weather, ignore obvious safety issues, or struggle solving small household problems. For example, instead of calling for help when something breaks, they may repeatedly try ineffective solutions. Problems that once seemed manageable can suddenly create outsized stress. This is because flexible thinking and practical reasoning may become less efficient. The person often doesn't recognize the shift themselves. That's why loved ones are often first to notice. There are 8 more. Frustration with everyday mental tasks. One overlooked emotional clue is increased irritability. During ordinary cognitive demands, a person may become unusually frustrated while reading instructions, organizing paperwork, or figuring something out. And tasks that once took little effort now feel mentally draining. This can create embarrassment, impatience, or withdrawal sometimes. The person senses that something feels different, but can't explain why. The gap between awareness and performance can be emotionally difficult. As a result, they may avoid mentally demanding situations altogether. This isn't always a personality change. Sometimes it reflects the emotional weight of subtle cognitive struggle. The important thing to remember is this: none of these signs alone confirm dementia. Stress, sleep issues, medication side effects, depression, hearing problems, and other medical conditions can also affect memory and concentration. But when multiple changes begin appearing consistently, and especially when they interfere with daily independence, it's worth discussing with a healthcare professional. Early evaluation matters, not because every memory change means dementia, but because understanding what's happening earlier allows for better planning, treatment options, and support. The brain often whispers before it shouts, and the people who pay attention to those whispers are often the ones best prepared for what comes next. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you better understand the early signs of cognitive decline, consider sharing it with a friend or family member who may benefit from this information. And if you enjoy practical health content for healthy aging, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Stay informed, stay proactive, and take care of your brain.